All right, this week on the Dragzine Podcast, we have decided to take things to an unacceptable level of fun. Brought on the cast of Season 3 of the 10K Drag Shootout, plus producer Dimitri for this. It's going to be insane, folks. If you have small children or people that are easily offended or the elderly, you might want to cover their ears and send them to the other room because it could get interesting at times. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So much to go over, so much to touch on, and we're just gonna we're gonna dive right in. I've got some questions here I'm gonna ask. I'll throw them out there, ask the person, and we can discuss and see where it goes. I'm gonna pick on Team Mac Adam first because they are the champions, and we will give them the champions question first. You guys, you came in with a plan, you executed it, you pulled out the victory. Did everything kind of go according to plan? Or was there any point where you guys were kind of like, this ain't going too well?
Honestly, the plan was somewhat loose because, we didn't know what vehicle we were going to get. We knew our engine combo, we knew the turbo combo. So powertrain-wise, we were good. And short of having to pay some more money, when Jim ratted us out on turbo and converter stuff. But, we had to pay more money for it. But the plan was still pretty much there.
The only issue we had was wastegate.
Yeah, the wastegate really hosed us up. We didn't have a shifter until almost the end. There was an issue with the shifter getting ordered. So if we could have had a couple of things, we would have had a couple more days to figure out the wastegate was bad and stuff. But
we told them not to put the turbo there. It's just the wastegate issue.
It's all good.
All right, well, kind of going off of that, I'll throw it to Marcus and Bobby here. Do you guys think not being able to get any extra dyno poles or anything like that under your belt, did that really hurt you guys at the track? Do you think you would have had something for Mac in the finals if you guys would have been able to really get a handle on the car more?
Everything hurted us. We had no dyno time. We had no tuner. We had no nothing. We out there was flying blind.
It really killed us on day one being way out in left field because not only did we have to try to get help from friends and figure out tune and stuff, we still had to figure out the chassis. So by the time we got that squared away in the tune-up, it was already, we're into the second day of racing. We got one more chance at it.
And the car we just built in 10 days, So you got all them other problems. Then, hey, let's throw a curveball. Let's throw a fucking laptop at you, Let's open up Holly software. You only looked at it 3 times in your life,
Okay. You guys just brought up a very interesting point. I'm going to go around the horn here, and I'm going to start with Jim on this. You get a lot of the people that say, oh, I could do that on the comments in the Facebook section. And just based on what Marcus said right there on how crazy it is, what's your take on those people that say, oh, I could do that no problem in 10 days? Easy.
Well, it's certainly not easy. I think that the show showcased 4 very knowledgeable teams and 4 really real world scenarios that come up. Like Marcus was saying, he'd only looked at a Holly screen 3 times in his life. Prior to the show, I'd never looked at a Holly screen. Never thought that it would be that big of a deal. I guess you can say I was kind of like that guy sitting at home saying we could do that too. But I can tell you that building the car wasn't a problem. Building the drivetrain wasn't a problem. Was it tough? Yeah, absolutely it was tough. But having the knowledge to go in there and execute it all, put it all together and make it all work in a limited time, along with shipping issues, because we all had problems. None of us had the problems, that Gio really had as far as the shipping stuff went, but all of us had holdups as far as that went. And it's really easy to sit back at home and say you can do it, but I can say, and I'll stick to this day, we had a world-class team. We did not have the expertise in the turbo and fuel injection stuff, and that's actually why we chose to do that combination. And I know that sounds goofy going into a contest, but we wanted to push our limits and see what we could do in a limited amount of time. In retrospect, that wasn't the best plan. We probably should have done something that we were good. I've been to nitrous since I was 15 years old. Probably should have done a nitrous car, but I wouldn't know what I know today if I had done that. So now I feel comfortable that, we can jump on and do some stuff. And of course, just like out in California, I was leaning on every one of these guys, and especially Adam, But all the teams were helpful as far as like I went to them and I didn't come in and flex and say, hey, look, I know everything there is to know about this stuff. I came out and said, hey, look, I know shit about this stuff. And our fifth guy, our other team member couldn't come who does do that stuff. And he was stuck with an emergency back surgery. So we were out in left field really.
Gio, this was your second rodeo. What's your take on the keyboard warrior types that think that you can slap one of these cars together in 10 days with this budget?
Let's post the link right here to apply. Literally, I think given the fact that I've been on it, for the past 2 years, you got to be in a scenario where anything can and will happen. Honestly, I mean, you can go in there with a game plan. It doesn't matter because things are going to happen. We were just talking about that ordeal with last year, the whole fire. We were pretty confident we had the car to beat last year. It made great power on the dyno. It was built right. And then the fire happened. And after that, it was just a whole bunch of things that kind of snowballed. Plus, it kind of takes a toll in you mentally. You just worked on something for an X amount of time and you just see it go up in flames and now you got to do it all over again. Everybody did have their challenges. But, once you apply and you go through the whole process and you're there, I would say take it all in and just, go at it 110%. Things are going to happen. The cards may fall in your favor. They may not. But you go out there swinging. That's all you can do.
All right. Now, the next question is going to be fun. We're going to get everybody's take on this. We're going to try to keep it some order in the courtroom, but I think we might get an eruption here from everybody. Adam, do you guys really think you're going to sneak all those parts in?
Yeah, of course. The turbo I knew was going to be close. I mean, we knew Lonnie was going to measure it. We didn't know it didn't have some markings on it that it needed.
So the turbo was all my fault. I told Robert what to send us, and I never told him it had to be a factory OE exhaust wheel size or anything. I just thought cast 80 was our limit. So then once we knew it was wrong, I was like, it's already on its way, so we're just going to try to sneak her in there. We didn't plan on cheating on that one. It just happened.
Right. That was
the other stuff we planned on cheating on, we got caught.
Yeah. And the converter, it really was, I tried to plead my case at the time to Lonnie and the jury, but it didn't really work. It really was about 3 months old of a converter. The one I bought to replace it had just gotten done, but either way, it was relatively.
We're just really not good at cheating. Yeah. We never cheat, so we didn't really know how.
We're going to take lessons from Jim for next year.
Jim's really good at cheating.
Don't take lessons from Jim.
Actually, Marcus told me a good secret. I'm not going to say anything. But
I was going to say, I think Marcus is probably the best one at cheating.
Yeah. Listen, we didn't cheat.
It's not cheating.
By the rules.
It's not cheating until you get caught.
And that's why Jim's budget was so high. He got caught all the time.
Yeah.
We came
Jim
in
was
like
cheating since day one. Before he even got on the show.
We came in like a bunch of innocent Catholic schoolgirls, and you guys were all.
Oh my gosh, Jim! I won't say anything about.
Jim, can I ask you a question, Jim?
We took some of them at one point.
Yeah.
Jim, I'm ask you a question. Since it's all over, it's all done and over with.
All right.
How did you cheat on the voting thing?
Man, I told you about that. I got people who are connected. We've got a ton of social media followers, man.
I have Jim's entire strategy of how he got on that show on camera.
Listen,
I'll have to release it, guys.
At the end of the day, out of everybody on this fucking computer screen right now, Jim spent the most money out of all of us. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that'll definitely be something. One of the prime cuts that Dimitri has to release at some point is that whole deal, because that's a story within a story. And on the whole cheating thing, one of the funny things I liked about that, again, being what did we do with the show, being kind of like the fly on the wall and getting to see what everybody does, was watching the whole converter scenario unfold and watching team out in front just circle like sharks because they knew what was coming. They saw the Lonnie Shark swimming towards Team Mac, and they're like, it's like in school when you know someone's going to get in trouble. They're like, oh, he's going to get him beaten. Guys,
all I know is Lonnie started asking me questions, and then I was like, you're going to have to talk to Adam, and I hit
Listen, I knew it was bad when Lonnie walked there and said, Adam, could you come out from under the truck for a second?
He in trouble.
It was honestly the perfect scenario for the show in a way to really like set me up because I was under the truck and had no idea of anything. Like Lonnie came over and asked me to come over there, but I was just kind of like, yeah, I'll be over there in a minute. Like, he didn't act like it was super important. And then when Nick comes over a few minutes later, didn't tell me that he'd already told Lonnie a story. Just like, dude, you better get over there, man. This looks serious. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Here we go. Marching to my death.
Listen, I might have enjoyed it.
Yeah, a lot.
My favorite shot is Nick smelling the torque converter as if it was burnt.
That was
I was
mine.
like, man, that thing smells hot. It smells like Marcus's.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, that people, it's one of those instances where I wish there was smell-o-vision, where they could just, the smell of burnt transmission fluid is just, it permeated the shop after that whole deal to the point where, like, it was in my nightmares because I've cooked the transmission. I'm like, oh, that's the death smell. That's the death smell, guys.
Well, we destroyed the whole shop with our transmission smell.
Bro, it was so
Oh, yeah.
bad.
It was there for
So
days.
I got the converter cut open. The thing started fucking bending the what the fuck are they?
Like the
flares.
flaps on the stator.
It started flattening them out on a fucking torque converter from had so much heat in it.
And then, like the band support for the power glides that literally just hold the band in, that whole piece was warped completely purple.
Oh,
Yeah, too much Carl sauce in there.
Too much, man. Way too much.
Oh, with that thing sitting on the brake like that, I'm like, oh, this is not, that thing's not happy at all. Then it escalated from there. Thankfully, the bad happened, but yeah, that was definitely one of those that's not going to end well moments. And
You want to know the thought that instantly went through my head when I heard you guys trying to put on the brake and it wasn't working the first
These
couple
guys
times?
are idiots.
No, I was like, I'm gonna double him.
Yo, you know what I told Bobby? I said, listen, I'm making sure that bitch is on the two-step when I race this
Like,
motherfucker.
listen, we will stage while they're doing it.
I told him, I said, that bitch is either going to go down the track fast or burst into flames. I was going to make sure it was on spool. Fuck.
Well, I know it caught me off guard because when we were racing, I'm like, that thing's spool slow. There's no way he's going in before me. And all of a sudden, I saw your second bulb lit, and I was like, oh boy, I better get in.
As soon as you lit your first bulb, we were right on it. We're like, oh, we know we need to be waiting for him.
One of the interesting things about this year's show, of course, was this whole COVID thing kind of made things more complex. And we had a lot of production issues that made things interesting trying to, fill slots. And Gio and his team came in and, at the last minute, you guys didn't necessarily win. I mean, you didn't win, but do you think overcoming all the hardships and just having a car running to break the beams, do you feel that was like a victory for you guys?
Yep. On our part with the team, I mean, it was one of those situations where it was just kind of like snowballing effect again, one thing after another with the parts. We called in a whole bunch of friends that, it goes to say we owe our friends a lot because they helped us out with a lot of parts that never really got there. The whole transmission ordeal, that was a crazy one right there in itself. And the cool thing about it is that, the buddies helped us out. They literally rented a car and they took out a transmission from one of the shop cars. They put it in that rental car and two guys drove it up to us nonstop for 20 hours. So, it's kind of like, what do you say to that? I mean, these guys are all stops to help you. And, we appreciate that 100%. So we kind of owed it to them to finish and at least break the beams. And hell, man, I mean, that last pass, it was what it was. We just swung for the fences with what we had. It's like I told Dimitri, I told the guys, I'm like, whatever we have at the end of the day, I'm just going to swing for the fences and try to drive that thing.
Dimitri, from a production standpoint this year, you got all the guys on the call here. What was your take on kind of the moment that really, set the season for you, for the narrative and what you guys were going to do? What was that moment you're like, all right, this is it?
It was when Homegrown grenaded on the dyno. We've had last year, we had enemies, not perform on the dyno. They didn't have high gear in their transmission, but there was no catastrophic failures. And we never had a catastrophic failure during the build. So going into a race, or a day left, what are they going to do? And then of course, unfortunately, when the El Camino, ended up grenading on the track again, we've never had anything that catastrophic happen on the show.
Twice.
So yeah, twice. Unfortunately, it's the same car, but
Somebody had to be the first, Jim. It just had to be you.
Same car, same
And Jim
time.
was worried about us.
Yeah, Jim was worried about us putting stuff on the track.
I mean, we were too a little bit when you had them rods in there, but
so
hey, you like it, I love it.
So it kind of really just goes to show how far these guys are pushing what they're building in 10 days. And again, maybe it was, it's a dome sensor here, but it's, again, when you have 10 days, and I really wish a lot of people can understand this, like it is 10 days, and it's not like they get 24 hours a day either. It's 8 to 5 or 8 to 8, and you're at the track.
Yeah, the thing that a lot of folks didn't get to see, on the show, we thrashed it, and we heard it on the dyno, and 3 hours later, we had it back running again, repaired the head, welded the head, machined the head, had it all done, and then go to the track and then destroy the motor. And I had to go to Orange County. I went to Orange County to buy that 5.3, and we had to do it with our race day budget. So, they can sit at home and say they can do that, or this is easy or whatever, but, I seriously doubt that me, and I'm not trying to pat us on the back. I'm just saying that I seriously doubt that there's many teams who had the amount of drive to show up. Like I could have threw my hat in the first night whenever we chucked the cylinder head off of it, the dyno. I could have threw my hat in when we killed the motor, but we honestly wanted to race and we wanted to show up, and we got that little taste of good info on the dyno, and we just knew we had a bad hot rod. And to have to drive, all through the night and then stay up all night switching the parts off the blowed up motor onto the other one, and then David and Brett and everybody going to the track. My guys worked their tails off, all of us did, and we were a guy short. And for somebody to sit at home and say they could do it better, I'm just going to say that it's really easy to say it until you're there doing it, and you're having to go without sleep and go without all the stuff that you need to do it. And make it all happen on the budget. And like I said, not trying to pat ourselves on the back, because Gio had, some really big hangups. Every team in this deal had a bunch of hangups, except for Adam. They started with a truck that was done. But everybody other than Mac, we didn't bring complete race motors and stuff with us, so we had to build shit from nothing. But it's okay. They had to.
Well, we just cut up your guys' cages and used them. So
really, I mean,
yeah.
to tell you why I think we did as well as we did, and in some ways things looked maybe easy for us, is, we didn't have the struggles that you guys had, because we literally do this every day. So we could do everything that it took to make that truck go from start to finish. We know Holly. He can fab the shit out of everything. We can build and do any of that stuff. So it's like right in our wheelhouse. So there was nothing for us. It was just, all we needed was hard-working dudes, which we had we had an unbelievable team of guys that were so focused the whole time. Every day to us was like we had to have the truck done that night. So the motivation and the movement, it was just everybody going. And since we already knew the plan was what we would do all the time, it just it made things go much smoother for us.
Us planning to get the truck and getting the truck and like things going as planned only motivated us more. So like we can't say like setbacks would have, we would have just still done just as good with setbacks. We didn't have a whole lot, but like he's saying, we do this every day. So we were a lot more at home, I think, than a lot of other people.
I told them all if we get there and everybody is in the same combo, that I think everybody else is in trouble. And if we get the S10, they're really effed, because it was just everything we needed was that.
Now, there's something that I don't think has gotten enough play as it should, and that is for Team Out in Front with what you guys did with that Mustang, leaving the interior in that car. Because usually when we do this show, like, it looks like these things got the Detroit special treatment where they're gutted head to toe. If it doesn't make it go faster or stop, it's not on the car. But Andrew Wolf, the editor of Dragzine, said, man, these guys are leaving the interior of the car. And then I come strolling in the first day and I look inside that Mustang. I'm like, all right, I'm down. I dig it. Why? Why, guys? Why did you put yourself at a weight, almost what can be considered disadvantage, to leave the interior in there?
Well, we looked at the rules, and we see we had to have a base weight anyway. We built Mustangs fucking every day, and we think, we know what they're going to weigh with me in it. And we built them every day, so we know what they're going to weigh in it. With me in it, and we knew we wanted to show that we could build a nice, clean street car for $10,000, not something that's cut up. How can I put it on?
Like, our biggest thing is, especially like in our area, as soon as you're fast, everybody says you got a race car. So if it's gutted and everything, that's the first thing they look at. Or if you already know we got to be over 3,000 X amount pounds, why not put the free weight in there? The free 80-pound dashboard, 20 pounds in door panels and skins, the seats, all that stuff is free weight.
So you ain't sitting in the pits welding a block in the car,
Now, in all fairness, they had maybe the only vehicle that wasn't full of rat shit so that they could keep their interior. We had to get ours out quick.
Gio's car was nice.
They just threw it out.
It was nice. I mean,
rat
that thing kind of.
Gio had the nicest car on the show. Start off.
He did.
That thing was clean.
We tore it up. We tore it up.
Cosmetics.
We were kind of surprised at what it weighed at the end. I was expecting for it to be at about 31, maybe 3150, and it was at 2,900. But there was a point where we were just like putting holes on that thing. I mean, we didn't have much else to do, so we were putting holes, trying to drop weight where we could, and I think that it kind of bit us in the rear at the end of the day, because then we had to throw all that weight back in.
Mm-hmm.
We had heads on there, we had manifolds, disc brakes. We had that block in there on the passenger seat. It was riding shotgun with me. I threw about close to 500 pounds of extra weight on it right there.
I've seen a midget riding a goat at a rodeo, but I have never seen an engine block used as weight ballast in a race car. That to me is like, you are not gonna top that right there for ingenuity, in my opinion. That's like you
got to go buy one of the foam LS blocks and put it there, so it's always there.
Yeah, it'll serve as 8 cup holders right there.
Yeah, but I think again that's interesting that Team Out in Front wanted to have their car look a certain way, which I could see when you're trying to if you look at that car from the passenger or the driver's side from 25 yards away, it just looks like an SN95 Mustang that's got some wheels on it.
Well, that was pretty much the game plan we had going into it, was build the nicest car possible. Let's try to make it clean, simple, everything hidden and out the way, everything tucked, to where when you step back, it still looked like the same crust box we started with.
Yeah,
right now it still looks like the same crust box.
Now it still looks
like
the
some
same
15 by 12s on it. That's all.
Another set of free wheels?
No, same ones. They just I had to throw that out there. That little comment.
When Jim found out we had 15 by 12s.
He wished he could have cheated those up on his.
He was just trying to figure out why we were mini tubbing the car the day before.
Yeah.
Speaking of chassis stuff, Jim, you guys had David Reese, the dude's an animal, plain and simple, with how he can build anything. He can make anything fast. Did the chassis turn out like how you guys planned with the car?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had a bunch of G bodies in the past, so we were happy with the car. And like I said, I was happy with everything about it. We just had some really, really shit luck. And I felt like at the end of the day, I felt like I let my team down because I wanted to build something that we hadn't done before. And, you know, I kind of felt like, you know, they did their part, and then, you know, I kind of messed up on my part. So, but at the end of the day, I think that it's going to make us stronger as a team, you know, no matter. And so now we've got a perfect R&D car to do what we want to do. And we've been doing it, you know, with the car since we got it home. So that's, a lot of fun, and we learned a lot. And so, you know, I think anytime, I say it all the time, you're going to pay for an education one way or the other. And we, you know, unfortunately we took to the, you know, the School of Mac, but it was a lot of fun, and look forward to racing with those guys. And like I said, after, you know, just having the car home for about 48 hours, we found the little problems that we had, and we addressed them. And, you know, the things super, super bad. Adam, your dog's doing something on the couch. I'm not sure it needs to be on live TV.
Oh boy. Dimitri.
Best to let him finish it.
Yeah.
Let's go off of that. Dimitri, is there some stuff maybe on, you know, the behind the scenes magic portion side of things where you see stuff where it's like, oh, we can't really have that on the show, but you want to put it on? You know, is there anything that you think of that you wanted to put out there, but you couldn't?
Oh, I mean, when Team Homegrown brought all the sex toys in and put them all over Villain Squad's Firebird. Unfortunately, that can't make the cut. You know, but it's funny because everything that happens in the show, it happens. You know, and I think a lot of people think it's scripted drama, but it really isn't. And it's incredible what actually happens when you put people under stress for 10 days.
And I think people, Dimitri, don't understand, because if you read some of the comments and what people say, they don't understand. You've got to tell a story with this. If it's just, you know, 25 minutes of these guys beating on cars, I mean, to us car geeks, yeah, that's awesome. But we need to draw in and tell a story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's not what this show is. We've never said anything different about that. This is not it's a build show, and we want to truly, you know, show all the creative ways of how a team can build something in 10 days for such a limited budget. But it's not. I mean, it's the $10,000 drag shootout. You have 10 days and 10 grand, and you only have a couple passes to be able to try to win your car. I mean, just that those elements alone are going to cause drama. You know, and you're putting a whole bunch of people in a hot shop with tools they've never worked with before, and of course people are going to clash. It's a bunch of egos, a bunch of drag racers. What do you expect?
Well, Jim had all his tools. He brought a trailer full of his tools.
Jim had his whole shop there.
But he did let us use some. Thanks, Jim.
You know, Marcus and Bobby, a lot of people don't realize the situation you guys were in, per se, because this, you know, to say you were behind the eight ball with everything's kind of an understatement as well, right?
Big time. The flood, man, killed us prior to coming into this because we were so prepared like Jim. We planned on bringing our full trailer. We were driving out there. We were making the long haul cross country with tools, parts, all this stuff. And then the whole shop got leveled. It's like, all right, we got no tools, no parts, no nothing. Now what do? We got a Harbor Freight around the corner and an engine challenge that starts in a half hour. We literally got to run over there and figure out what we can get in 10 minutes. And those were our tools for the 10 days, whatever we found right before the first challenge on day one.
A lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't know that we only had 20 minutes in Harbor Freight to get tools together before that first challenge. We didn't have no tools before that.
And that was another thing with the pandemic. We couldn't share tools. So, you know, it was one of those things where everything happened last minute with Villain Squad coming in last minute. Again, we had no idea if Marcus and the guys were able to come out. So, and yeah, Marcus is right. We were getting ready to do the Hot Rodders of Tomorrow challenge, and we turned to them, and they're like, they were empty-handed, just standing there.
That was our first stop off the plane, man. We stopped at Harbor Freight.
You know,
so try building a race car with Harbor Freight tools in 10 days.
I'm sure we
do it every day.
You want to see my shop? That's all I got.
We do it every day.
Yeah.
You know, Gio, what was your guys' set of challenges like coming in, you know, on short notice as well? It's, you know, it's like a you know, NHL or a baseball player getting called up at the last second. You know, that's kind of like what you guys got through. You know, you just had a chance to pack a bag and roll out, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We had gotten some, well, I got some calls from Scott and some messages. I was on the dyno tuning a car, and the phone was ringing, so I came and checked, returned the calls, and it's pretty much the invite. It was kind of one of those things where, hey man, show up for this. And even then, I mean, to do it in such a short amount of time is just crazy. Knowing what I know and now knowing what you guys know, you can never be too prepared, but you can get there unprepared. The year before, Horsepower Wars did provide some tools, but Jesse Adams, he took like a whole bunch of tools that kind of, spoiled us a bit because we had everything we needed. And given the circumstances, obviously they couldn't do that anymore this year as far as sharing tools and whatnot. But so we got the call, and one of the things I talked to Scott about that was I had to talk to the guys, and it had to be like a team ordeal, team decision, because it was going to be crazy. And I don't think the guys understood the amount of, or the level of craziness I was talking about. So they were all gung-ho, man. I mean, they were willing to step up to the plate and swing at it. And so it's just kind of like, pack a bag and let's roll out. We'll take whatever tools we can and figure it out while we're there. I mean, there wasn't really enough time to do anything else. Had we had a little bit more preparation time, probably would have gotten a trailer and, figured some stuff out along the way, especially an engine. I would have had an engine shipped over there. I figured we are going to find one over there pretty quick. And, given the circumstances, we weren't able to get pistons or rods. So that's kind of what made me look specifically for the Gen 4 engine. Otherwise, we'd have just gotten a Gen 3 and stuck some pistons and rods in it and called it a day with that. But more than anything, I mean, it was just coming across certain things. Obviously, the parts not showing up the way we thought they would. Shorthanded a couple parts here and there, but it all added up at the end of the day. We basically, like everybody else, you run out of time. You figure things are going to kind of fall into place, but at the end of the day, they don't. So you just got to work through it.
Going off of that, when people ask me, well, what's this all about? What's it like? And the way I describe it is it's like your worst possible day at a racetrack when it comes to a thrash for 10 days straight. Like every day is just when you're done at the end of the day, you feel like you've just been beat within an inch of your life mentally and physically, and you've got to do it again in the next day. Going off of that, I'm going to ask each of you, I want to have each of you answer this question. We'll start with Jim. Was this competition tougher than you expected?
No, I don't think it was tougher at all than what I expected. The show was tougher than I expected, but I don't think that the group of guys that we raced with, I had a general idea as to how fast these things were going to go. And I don't think that the competition was harder, but the show itself was harder. Yes. Much harder because we had so many curveballs, and we thought, we tried and executed our plan. We brought as much stuff with us as we could. And obviously, like I said, in hindsight, I feel like we should have done things a little bit differently, but we can't back up, and that's how it is. So, but through it all, it put us where we are right now, and for that I'm thankful. But I don't think any one of the teams is a team that we can't beat right now. And I feel like that, going on to, like, what I'm saying, and I think any one of these four teams could go back and win that same shootout on any given day. What I'm saying? What really sucks is that this particular show, this particular episode, season, it showcased a whole lot about the teams, but it really didn't showcase the raw amount of talent that was really there. And but I guess if everybody would have been perfect, the show probably wouldn't have been as good as what it was. So I guess it's kind of part of how it works out.
Marcus and Bobby, was the competition and everything tougher than what you guys expected?
It was definitely tougher than you think, because you think, 10 days is, you can build a car. We do it every day. But when you're down at day 7 and you still got a turbo kit, got a transmission that's sitting out there, you got an unfinished fuel system, and 2 days left to order parts. It's like, what the hell do we do now?
The challenge going into it, no, like Jim said, you look at it, we could build a car in 10 days. But when you get there and Day 4 comes around, your K members still didn't show up, your parts still aren't here, you don't know where you're going to find stuff. That's when it gets more challenging. That's when reality sets in, like, oh, we're literally in the middle of nowhere. Everything's shut down for COVID.
Your front bars are in S10.
These guys we told already done cut our cage up. We're there on day 1 flying completely blind, no idea. And now you're trying to find 1 5/8 tubing in California on a Saturday at 6 in the afternoon. That's the part the comments don't see. All that stuff. And each team had their problems. I'm not saying we're the only ones, but we all went through stuff like that. That's where it got tough.
That's the part that's challenging that you don't think about. You don't think about, I mean, where can I find an engine air? Where can I find a transmission? Or I need a set of rims. You don't think about none of that because when you're at home, you can get that shit anywhere. You can go on Craigslist and I can find 10 sets of rims down the street for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
not in California.
Even look at
it's 7 hours away. You're like, God. You know
and LS is a dime a dozen around here. You could find them in anyone's backyard. Jim had to drive 3 hours for a plain Jane Gen 3.
Yep.
Adam and Nick, your thoughts? Was it, you guys being the first time in this, was it tougher than what you thought it was going to be?
I think the actual like physical aspect, we've swapped motors on drag week and at lights out and all that. So like, I think the physical aspect was a lot easier than I had planned on, but it was the budget aspect of, oh, we'll take that seat off. We got to get a plastic seat, not aluminum one. We can't even afford this fuel fitting. We got to put a rubber coupler here instead of a V-band. Like, I don't want to use rubber couplers because what if it blows off going down the track and then we lose the race? Like, the battle of spend money on this versus save money on this was, I think, our biggest hurdle, but I think we did pretty well with it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. Our hardest thing was the budget, and we build stuff on some of a budget. You think you do stuff on a budget, and then you look at that amount of money you have to spend, and we're going out there wanting to do what we always do because we know how that works. So when we would have to buy a part that isn't normal for us to use, like the VS injectors, like that makes me nervous because we don't use those things much, or the VS wastegate. We don't use that stuff. And
some people don't understand part of the reason we put the turbo up top was, one, because they told me we can't, and two was it saved us. Like, we were putting a turbo in the rear no matter what because the weight, the bias, but it saved us $300 on a scavenge pump from Summit,
plus lines and fittings that we would have had to run. So I mean, it was every night we went home and spent a couple hours occasionally arguing over what we were going to spend the budget on. But yeah, we were swapping, returning parts all the time, and we didn't have a plan for wheels. I mean, if Nick hadn't have came through and won the wheels, it probably would have had the stock ones on it. We didn't have the budget for other stuff. So, I mean, luck was on our side in a lot of ways too. I mean,
if you go back and they show the budgets at the end, if you look how far over budget we were, that doesn't include wheels.
Right. I mean, we got super lucky. If we would have got the third challenge and got that dang HP ECU that old Marcus and Bobby got, we might even be able to turn up a little more some stuff.
I shouldn't have stuck up for Bobby when his car was a piece of crap. I was like, man, that's not fair. Bobby needs a better car.
Jim over there tuning his up in the corner.
Yeah, let's not leave out the fact that Jim, once again, trying to cheat, got himself when he put them radials on.
Jesus never win.
You remember that.
Every time you cheat, Jim will cost you.
Karma was not Jim's friend the whole week for some reason.
Nope, at all, man. He couldn't get by.
Back to the whole build thing, a lot of times the people at home don't realize valve stems, rubber fittings, rubber this, little bitty things that you take for granted. Like, all of us have tons of shit like in the shop. I'm building somebody's car and I'm building a build for somebody. If it needs a part, I go get it. And that show actually showed me that, like, I'm not charging enough. I'm not getting these little things that we all have. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you really look at it, what you put on the cars that we all take advantage of, oh, it needs a set of lug nuts. Okay, we'll go buy a set of lug nuts. Well, guess what? That just came off your budget. It needs a hose clamp. Well, we were out there digging through the dumpster, getting junk hose clamps, stuff like that people at home don't really see, that the budget is every dollar that goes into that car.
Well, that's the thing that really makes
that's a tough deal to come up with. Yep.
Gio, this wasn't your first dance party. what was the toughest part about this year for you guys? Because you've done the Dream Team deal before, but this year was a little different. What was the toughest part for you this year?
Well, realistically, if I look at everything, so last year, Dream Team, we got, 6 guys that have never worked together, put them together and build a car. And this year, we kind of did the same thing. The guys I brought out there with me, we've never worked together before. So you kind of go in there hoping everything's going to like mesh the way it needs to in order to get things done. But more than anything, I would say it was just the parts not showing up on time because, we wanted to get the S10 just for the mere fact, and I'm sure everybody else did as well, because it was halfway done as far as you didn't have to take off an engine, you didn't have to remove a transmission or anything. You just, clean it up and get to work on it. But when I saw these guys tear down that car with 2 hours and a half, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get something done here pretty quick. And with that being said, we would get some parts and then we'd go at 110%, and then we had to stop. And, a couple of us had to be out there hunting down more parts and figuring out what was happening with them. I know we hit up a couple stores when parts just weren't showing up, and they were already cleaned out by a couple of the other guys. But yeah, more than anything, I would say, those were the 2 big factors because the team worked well together. I mean, they worked way better than what, I could ever ask for. They went 110%. It was just the parts holding us back. And I think that was one of the more frustrating things, that once we got rolling with things, we would run out of stuff to put on the car. So I was like, okay, what do we do now? I know, there was a whole big controversy and people were telling me about a beach day. There really wasn't a beach day. We were done with what we had to put on the car. And the guys were like, what are we going to do? I mean, do we just stare at everybody working? What do we do? So, we wanted to go have a meal and we went down and we had a meal by the beach.
I got to say, though, you didn't have brake lines going to the track on day one.
They had those at O'Reilly. That was overseen. Yeah, that was and honestly, before we left, it was one of those things where, you know what, we're going to get them over there because they got to be over there. That was something that was overseen. And given the fact, obviously, everybody can probably go back and take a couple things here and there that you would have done differently. That would have been one of the major things for us. But, we would have, it was one of those things where there was going to be a couple shops here and there that they told us about, and we figured they'd be there. And I think given the circumstances, we kind of concentrated on a couple of the things first, like, getting our engine and a couple other things because, obviously without an engine, we really can't even run the car. I mean, I was going to have the guys push the car and we were going to make some turbo noises, etc. But yeah, the brake fittings were a big one for us, where it's kind of like, all right, well, we couldn't get them. Here we are in the middle of the track and we're driving away 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles. I know me and Russ headed out to a couple different towns just trying to come up with something to put together. And, it was one of those things where we just couldn't find them. Parts that were kind of common where I'm from, you couldn't find them over there. I was really surprised at that.
Like a roller
but
like brake line by us. Because by us, 316's brake line, everything rots away here in Philly and Delaware and this whole tri-state area. So that's on handy at every Advance, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, all of that. We get out there, stuff don't rot in California. There's one roll in stock, and guess what? One of the 4 teams bought it. Now you got to drive 40 minutes to another O'Reilly's 40 minutes away because they already got it.
Yep.
Yeah, Can I just say, Hank's Hardware has everything any of us needed.
So does Rock Auto.
Give Hank a plug. Dude, Hank's Hardware is badass.
Rock Auto, man. I'm telling you, this is good. Cheaper, too.
All your LS accessories.
Well, there's always a little bit of interesting, we'll just call it pettiness that kind of happens before, during, and after. And there's been some chatter on the internet from some past people that have competed on the show that they weren't impressed with this year. They don't think the cars were as fast. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
We were at 6,000 foot elevation.
Yeah, we were literally in a desert. These guys were at lights out. It's the best radial race in America. Prep wasn't even a factor.
They didn't even have to think about suspension. They just
meanwhile, we're
all
running
the power
literally.
and left
There's
on
rattlesnakes at the track.
And it's 110 degrees out.
Yeah, 110 degrees, 6,000 foot elevation. What, like?
You know what I got to say about that?
Something nobody knows.
What was it?
I say, you know what I got to say about that? Let's have a horsepower war shootout. Get all the cars together. Everybody put $1,000. Winner take all.
Listen, we could do what's that? 4
We still got the baddest car then.
Yup.
We'll just have a
I
shootout.
showed Jim he ain't fast.
This is going
Hey,
to
listen, if since we're racing now and the $10,000 in the truck's not on the line, they're gonna allow me to actually have a healthy amount of timing that the truck should actually have.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea how long we argued that they would not give me any amount of timing in the vehicle. Like,
I mean, we didn't have to though. I mean, my argument always was, yeah, Nick was on me the whole time. Let's put power in it. Let's put power in it. We didn't need to yet. I mean, and he was worried that the problem was going to be is somebody was going to have a Hail Mary and finally figure it out. And then that was a risk we were taking. We might not have enough in it, but up until that point, I mean, shit, we were a half a second ahead of everybody. So, you know, we're playing with stock bottom end stuff.
It wasn't a half a second.
always
I'm saying half a second. You was 2.5 tenths.
You know, and
there's Mark
we had about
yelling at the
8
camera.
mile an hour.
Hey, that was on the last pass though. But
That
before
was the whole
that, we
race.
just
You was
wanted-
never more than 3 tenths in front of me, bro.
no, that was a 20 to a 50 or something, 60, 70, who knows?
and that's what I think is really important about the shootout.
Gap between us.
Yeah. And we knew our truck had 60. We're the only one that went down every pass without shaking the tire. I honestly thought, like, my biggest worry about you guys, Marcus and stuff, was that you were 100 pounds or so under us. I thought you would just throw 100 pounds in the trunk to get that thing to work, and then we might be in trouble. That was where I was. I worried you might just throw the weight in it because you had weight to give up.
It was Andy Rollbar whooping our ass more than anything.
Yeah, honestly, the
And
parts
Andy
in the
Rollbar
back, the
killed
biggest
me.
thing killed it was it being like it was shifting on us. So the back end of the car was literally changing its preload and pinion angle every time the anti-roll bar shifted. So the whole first day we fought that problem on top of trying to figure out the tune-up and make sure we're not going to burn this thing up.
Well, let me say, leaf springs to the front.
And real quick, Brian, that's another huge aspect of the concept of the show. You know, a lot of people say it's like, oh, you know, why are you limiting these guys to 5 qualifiers and just, you know, round 1 and finals? That's it. Like, they need to figure out their car in 5 passes or less. I mean, it's, you know, they get 10 days and you got to figure it out. I mean, again, anybody can dial a car, you know, day after day after day, but
That's the fun challenge of it. It's, you know, that's part of the deal is you don't have much time. So you got to hope you're coming in with some idea and plan of what to do because you don't have much time to figure it out.
I would absolutely love to see a horsepower war shootout with everybody that still has their cars.
Amen.
I'm down.
Oh, we're completely down for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
move it off
You
topic.
guys should come to one of our big end banger races.
When? Just let me know when.
Yeah,
We'll have a bunch of them, but if everybody can get together on a single event, that'd be awesome.
but even like outside a single event, we'll still come out for your guys' cash days and stuff like that, even with other cars.
Perfect.
Y'all ain't getting off that easy. You gonna get it one way or another.
Well-
Listen, I know Marcus is just dying to beat me. Like I can feel the tension. He is
When
so
we
ready
found out about
to
that
beat me.
dipstick tube, that was the end of us once we got home. Pinhole in the dipstick tube was our problem this whole time.
That's where it was blowing the oil from.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them good old rotted 2002 Tahoe dipsticks because we can't afford them in our budget.
You guys should fucking give us like $10,200 or something. Like for like dumb shit like that. Dipsticks and fucking like bullshit wire top fees.
Well, what I love was it took us a while to get this call started, just for the simple fact that everybody was having fun talking trash on the call before we got started. And Marcus called Jim right out. He's like, off the trailer, let's go. And Jim didn't even bat an eye. That's what I love about this season is y'all are a bunch of killers. You don't care. It's like, we're just going to race. If we didn't kick you guys out of the track and take your cars away, you'd have raced till 4 a.m. on race day.
Yeah,
Dimitri is our witness. We basically asked, could we run Adam and Nick back for a pot on the side off of production? We wanted that race back.
I was super
Wasn't your
excited
car
early.
anymore.
We're like, hey man,
I
we know
thought-
we don't own the car, but can we still go out there?
I was excited to scatter that thing against you.
I was hoping, you know, we almost
Did
had
they hit
everybody
the Shamma
talking
Boost
to
button or
run it
what?
I know all the racers, I think we all wanted to run it backwards, but I don't think the track owner was maybe comfortable. But That would have been awesome to run that thing backwards.
He probably heard how some of us were talking about our no prep races and stuff. He's like, man, maybe these aren't a good crew to have out here.
One of the things we do like to do on the production side is find fun and interesting ways to torture the cast each year, whether it's, Team Biggin being awarded that awesome wagon or the Olympics, or we try to find different ways. And the race set from the top end, as soon as someone suggested that, we all looked at each other like, oh, we got to see if we could do this, just because it would have completely flipped everything on its head.
Jim really would have been fucked.
If I'm not mistaken, all the teams were for it.
That would have been the way
return
to
road
go,
wasn't
though.
allowing us.
Top end.
Correct.
Sure. If it's no prep, you got to do top end.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that killed us there was the track was only 8 mile long total.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At least we'd run back into the pits and not off the cliff.
Dude, that was scary.
Yeah.
Listen, when I couldn't see any cars, first thing I thought of, I'm falling off the cliff of this fucking mountain. That's the first thing I thought of.
I think
The cliff of this mountain.
that's the good part about like these 4 teams was nobody was like, a lot of people race and they're afraid to lose. None of us are. Like, everybody only wants the race to win, but none of us were afraid to lose, and I think that's what makes a good season.
I think from the production standpoint and kind of looking back, Dimitri might be attest to this too, is like our fear is, not having 4 cars, but I'm, in back of my mind, I'm like, these dudes are not afraid to drive over a crank to win. Hopefully they wait until eliminations to do that. Right, Dimitri?
Yeah, I mean, that's always, not necessarily our biggest fear, but we always want to have 4 running race cars at the end of the 10 days. And then we always want at least 4 cars going into eliminations. I mean, that's, it's not fun having a 3-car shootout. And, I mean, obviously everyone can agree when it came to seeing if Gio was able to come back in after that first day at the racetrack.
I don't even think he would have got an unsafe start ticket if a cop would have saw that, though.
You know how many of our friends were mad? They were so disappointed. They were so sure that was us.
Yeah, you guys totally made it look like it was going to be us.
Yeah, and then they were so sure it was us, and then when it wasn't, they were just kind of like, ah.
All right, we've got a couple more segments I want to do here before we close things out. And before we go to the mean comment portion of the show, I'm going to ask each of you one more question. We'll start with Jim. If you could go back and do it all over again, would you change anything? What would you do different?
Nitrous.
Well, as far as to win, I would have built the nitrous car for sure, because I mean, what Team Mac ran out there, we run that with junk. I mean, that's it, and it's people around here know that. Like, Amanda's old nitrous Mustang runs 570s and 80s, and it was just a little nitrous plate car. And it runs at no prep, I'm saying, from the top end back, that type of racing. That's the stuff that we built that car to do. But with that being said, I don't think that I would change anything except coming in with a full team and being a little more careful as to the mistakes that we made and stuff that, we did that we just didn't know we did, I guess you can say. But I wouldn't change it for the world, because I feel like it made us all a better team. That's a sore subject for me, because to win, we would have showed up and done probably a nitrous big block deal. And I think we would have had it covered, or we could have done a nitrous small block deal. Something that I do all the time, I've done for the last 20 years. Obviously a blown deal would have been great, but it doesn't fit in the budget. The nitrous deal certainly fits. But with that being said, I wouldn't have changed anything because of what we learned and what we took away from it. So I guess, and the $10,000, that's a lot of money to, to put in your pocket to win a race. But the amount of knowledge that I gained from coming out there and doing what we did and where we're at now, you can't buy for $10,000. So for that, no. As much as I'd like to have drove out of their lives with what we can do, I just feel like that was a better situation. So now going forward, we can say we've done it and we learned a lot, and that's education is, something that has a price tag on it. So we took to school, and there's no question about it. Marcus was saying that, you know, if I raced it from the top back, I'd have been in really, really bad trouble. Well, I mean, I can honestly say, guys, I think we lost at everything. You know what I'm saying? We lost the challenge. Like we lost stuff we should have never lost. So like if we'd have ran it backwards, I mean, I don't think we could have lost worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got our asses kicked at every turn. But at the end of the day, I brought my father, my wife, David Reese, and my head crew guy, Brett, out to California with our entire family. And we did this thing, and it's probably the last turnkey complete build that Dad and I will do. Just because of, you know, Dad's getting up in his age, but my dad worked like a mule out there. And there was no quitting, no quitting any of our guys. So I think that, you know, no, I don't think I would have changed anything about it because we needed it. And that was an experience unlike, you know, anything else we've ever done. And so, you know, hats off to all you guys. You guys were great. The viewers at home, hopefully you get to watch this stuff. I know a lot of you, you know, think that I'm an asshole or I'm a dick or whatever because I give these guys a hard time. But
they're right.
They don't see really how good we all are and that we all talk, we all cut up. But you guys did a good job editing it and making it look like there was some bad blood. When really, you know, the only time I ever got excited, the mine and Lonnie's deal from the tech side of things, that was the only time I got excited during the entire show, and it had nothing to do with any other team. But the show didn't get a chance to show that. You know, it had zero to do with any other team or what they were doing. But you know, I love all you guys. We had a great time, and hopefully we can all do it again another time, and you know we can show up and show out.
Gio, if you know, it's a loaded question for you. You know, what could you change? But I guess what's the biggest thing if you could go back and change anything? What would you change?
I mean, given the circumstances, again, you know, I brought a team together that had never worked together, so we had to kind of find out, you know, what was going to happen as a team as a whole. There's realistically not many things we can change, as Jim said. You know, there's things that you're going to learn as you go, and without that, you're not going to get that education. So you might as well get out of the way right now and learn for the future. You know what I mean? Yeah, I did. UPS, FedEx, all of them. That, you know, funny you mentioned that, Jim, because that's something I was actually talking about. But yeah, realistically, I talked to a couple people, you know, including Dimitri, when I was asked this as far as, you know, doing it again and what would change. I would just need the parts to be there. That's it. I think everybody would, you know, get the parts there and just get to it and figure things out as you go. Everybody has a plan until things happen, like I said, and things happen a lot for everybody. Now, more than anything, from both seasons, I do want to say this. You know, people go in there talking a lot of trash and we're going to win this and that. But at the end of the day, if you're a true racer, and I've experienced this on both seasons, if one team is in a bad predicament, somebody is going to go help them out because you want to have 4 cars running and you don't want to win by DQ. You want to earn it. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, given the circumstances, everybody, you know, knocked it out the park, man. We all went and we took care of business. There was several times when Marcus and myself, we had a couple conversations. That was one of the things they never showed. We were trying to find an engine. I kid you not. We had one engine locked in, and I was sending the guys to go purchase it. And the kid says, I got to ask my dad. And this was literally like on an ad for sale. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we need this now. And that kind of was a bust. So we found an engine like 5 hours away, and we didn't know if it was a Gen 4 or not. But Marcus found an engine for us. And that's another thing that they didn't show on there, you know. He was looking out for us without even needing to. A couple, you know, when it came to Jim was like, hey, whatever you need, we got it. There was a couple of things, you know, we try to help everybody with. So, you know, I just, you know, given the circumstances, you go into it and you know, you go out swinging. But more importantly is, you know, the camaraderie you make and you see what everybody's about, man. True racers are going to want to go out there and race. And you don't want to see somebody go down in flames. You help them out. You know, if you got a problem with your transmission, with the tune-up, whatever, hey, we're here. We're going to help. it is what it is, man. You just try to move forward from it and have fun with it. I think that's what I would like to tell everybody. You know, if you get a chance to do this, it's a competition, but enjoy it while you're there. Because not many people get to experience this. And in essence, this should kind of be like a life ordeal. You know, we all go through certain circumstances in our lives, and nothing's promised. Tomorrow's not promised. So, you know, we went out there, we met some good friends. I got together with a group of guys that I never met together. We're close friends now. I met all you guys, you know, you're all friends, and that's what it's about, man. You go out there, you meet people, and, you know, you just keep going with life. I mean, it is what it is, you know.
Marcus and Bobby, what would you guys change if you could go back in time?
My tuner.
Yeah, let's hit one right off the bat.
Good old tuner.
Oh, the Carl sauce.
I mean,
besides just double checking, you know, orders and making sure your orders are going through and shit like stuff like that. I wouldn't really change too much because we had a good time, we had a good experience. We knocked it out the park. I think, you know, a team, like I can't ask for anything more out of them guys. Another thing the show don't show is we was down a guy the whole build, you know. We never had a full set of guys, even when Carl was there. We still had a full set of guys. And like what Gio was saying of us helping each other out, they don't show either that, you know, Justin from Gio's team came over like, hey guys, you know, I don't want to step on your toes. I got a tune-up if you guys want to try to see if your car can spool. Yeah, we put it in there and the car did spool, you know what I mean? And we worked from that. We took the tune-up and we worked from that and we asked Adam a question if I needed a question. I went to David Reese, asked him a question if I needed a question, you know what I mean? We all helped each other out, you know what I mean?
But at the end of the day, coming in like Gio said, if the other teams didn't help us or we didn't help Gio, we wouldn't have had 4 cars.
Right.
And there was a lot of times where each team, I know me and Adam have went back and forth about wiring, me and Kelvy, Marcus has went back and forth on motor stuff with Jim and everything. There's a lot of times when each of us needed some sort of tech advice that the other team had. Mm-hmm. But then, like he said, we're all friends now. We're seeing pictures of each other's families on Facebooks every day. Yeah. We're seeing day-to-day base. We're all friends just from the show, just from going out and building a car against each other.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a couple of things you would do different. You know, reading the rules a little different. I mean, I would change a different combination. I wouldn't go with the same combination. Other than that, like I said, there's not much.
For teams going into it, like even if you're applying and everything, the biggest thing is, man, read the rules because you don't need to cheat. You can find a lot of gray areas in the rules. And even as far as like the free parts list, like the sponsored items, there was a lot of times where teams
like
lacked
the cook's order.
Look at the cook's order.
You know what I mean? Half the team didn't get the cook's order. You didn't get all the elbows and stuff because you didn't read it. It was right there. You had to just read it.
It was just fine print.
Same thing with the oil pans and Moroso. Moroso said oil in the system. Me and Bobby sitting here just like we are right now and say, hey, let's do an oil pan on there and see if we get it.
Oil pan.
Where's they going to say no? You know what I mean? It's short crap. It showed up at the shop.
Little stuff like that hurt the teams, and I think that was the biggest thing is a lot of us overlooked the rules. We just looked at the general, okay, we got $10,000. Not, oh, we have a spec motor list stuff. There's stuff that we could, machine shops and stuff. There was a lot of stuff. We all got the rule book. We know there's a lot of gray things in there that needed addressed.
Jim got a different rule book.
Jim's rule book is
there was
3
no
pages
rule book.
long.
You just threw that thing out.
It says you have $10,000 and 10 days, and the third page says do what you want. That's it.
Yep.
Like this.
Adam and Nick, the champions, what would you guys do different, if anything?
You know, we got really lucky, and it would have been my fault. Nick would never let me hear the end of it. I didn't read the rules real well, even though, I looked at it a bunch of times, but didn't look real close that the E85 and non-intercooled deal. Or I'd kind of forgotten it, I think, from when we originally planned. And we were like 2.5 weeks out when I was going through stuff again and seen that. And I'm like, oh, shit, wait. So I called, I messaged somebody. I was like, hey, we need to switch to race gas and we need our intercooler because we've been playing all year, head gasket assassin on my combo, looking like Jim's all day because the E85 and non-intercooled game is very tough. And if on an SBE, it's really, really tough. And then you get up to that elevation, life just sucks. So we got super lucky on that end. The other thing which we couldn't have changed, but I wish we could have all done, was that opening orientation when we couldn't all kind of have pizza and beer together, right? That would have been it would have helped out, I think, everybody's mesh. You know, by the end of the week, we're all brothers, but it took longer to get there, where if we would have had that first day, I think, or so, to be able to really hang out and communicate, I think it would have made the show even maybe more better, because everybody, the better you get along, and we like to have fun with each other. So we could have built some
100%.
relationships.
I didn't start talking to Ricky Bobby to freaking like day 6. You know what I mean?
Dude,
That was
exactly.
the thing. Once we started talking, we hit it off. We're like, damn, we're all ball breaking dudes. We drink at the end of
Do
the
the same
competition.
shit.
Like,
You know what I mean?
I wish we would.
I didn't start talking. We didn't start fucking with you till you start playing that weak bitch song after you won that challenge. I said, we're gonna fuck with them now.
Just like us.
I was like, hey, watch this. And then they were all like, Nick, you're being mean to him. I'm like, listen, don't think it's funny. All
You
right?
get feelings in the car, man. That's our rules.
But
One
yeah, you
thing
don't know
I'm
each
sure you
other.
guys all seen. We have no care about each other's feelings,
Leave them in the
whether
car.
our friends or not our friends.
The same. Normally, if we're giving you a hard time, it's because we probably like you.
If I'm
Yeah,
not talking to you,
We're
at
trying to
least I
see
don't
how
like
much you can withstand.
Yeah. Yep. So it would have been cool to have all the relationships happen sooner. It just would have made for more fun. I mean,
Yeah,
Joe
man.
Scams and Brandon, that was on out in front with you guys too. Those two guys are hilarious. They're hilarious on the show
Yeah,
the
they're
whole
two
time.
ball breakers just like the rest of
Dude,
us.
they are, man. They're the best. They're like really good, top notch. Like when I was getting murdered by Lonnie, they didn't even get all the best video on there.
Oh,
I mean,
no, they
were-
only showed the half of it. And I'm sure that a lot of people don't know, Dimitri sent us home with a GoPro for a few days. There's some footage on there about everybody getting grinded up that didn't get out.
Oh, shit. Release it.
Some of that,
Video.
some of that
Listen,
GoPro
I'll tell you what, if
footage is
Demetri
disturbing.
if he released that video, one of our teammates is getting divorced. I'm telling you right now. One of them is getting divorced.
You guys were just going to Del Taco every
GoPro
night.
For like season 4 bloopers, toss it in somewhere else.
Well, on the whole ball breaking note, let's get into what has been referred to on other shows as mean tweets. I didn't want to send these to you guys. I'll just read them, and you guys can react and get chuckles out of these. You might have read some, you might not have. And we're not going to redact any names here, because if you're going to post them on social media or on YouTube, we're going to name names because you put it out there. So Backyard Built Trucks says, so tired of these cookie cutter LS turbo builds. Knocked off a share of them on my own with an NA setup. Really?
Where's he from? He must be from like deep down south where they don't have fast shit anywhere.
He definitely dates his sister.
Yeah,
He's a small block Ford guy. That's what he
That's
is.
what we like. We
Yeah.
like to call these guys Neff sons.
Yeah, right.
That's what
Yeah, he a definite Neff son.
The next one is might catch Jim in the feels. Dustin Engler says, it's funny, the biggest, meanest looking guy on the show is a crybaby.
Well, what's that guy's name?
He's talking about you, Jim.
They was talking about Marcus.
I didn't do no crying.
We got a teddy
Marcus
bear over
was
here.
the
You always
maddest
look
guy on the
angry,
show.
Jim.
All I've got to say to that shit is that everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
So Jim's gonna punch that dude in the face. Sounds like.
Listen, Jim is a big teddy bear. I
He
saw him
is.
play hot hands. All
He
right,
is,
he's not that tough.
Hey, there's another side of this thing that production didn't catch. You guys know we raced just about every night when we were out there. We raced our
Oh
road.
yeah, we raced the rental vans. We all had the same exact rental vans, and we all raced every time. We
Y'all know who
Yeah,
had
three
the
of 'em.
fastest van.
Yeah, we got you, Ricky.
We might have needed a transmission by then. Wait, how did our rental and our car need a transmission?
Yeah, Marcus is telling people in Philly. Yeah, I mean I've beat Nick Taylor before. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah,
It might not have been in that
Dodge.
shit. It was in the vans. I ain't talking about what it was in, though.
We were both on small tires all seasons.
Yeah.
So, Tyler Diaz writes in his reaction to episode 7, weak.
What was the name on that?
Tyler Diaz says you guys are weak.
He needs more description. That's a weak description.
Hey, just can I revert back to what Marcus said? Is remember he's watching us on TV.
Exactly,
Hit the nail on the head with that one.
I don't know. I mean, episode 7. So episode 7 is the first race day. I mean, how could you not love that episode? There's fast cars. There's cars blowing up. We got people breaking the rules, crashing gates down, going on the street, getting kicked off the show. I don't know. Seems like
You
a
know
good
what it
episode to
is?
me.
Because they didn't get picked to do it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for everyone.
sitting
The
at
fact
home
that it's like,
watching it.
we could have did that. Yeah, I bet you could have,
He's
but
a-
you didn't sign up
Yeah.
like we did.
It's what we call a street troll here.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got two left here. I'm going to save my favorite for last. I'm going to save that one for last. But Chris Ward writes, last year's cars would have eaten these cars alive.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
What turbos did they have on them last year's?
Right.
They had cast 80s on them last year, but the rules this year were more strict than they've ever been. You know,
I
again,
can tell you
the
for
first
sure.
year were wide open.
We didn't have the turbo that they had last year.
yeah, there was some snip trim. I mean, Adam and
Yeah,
Nick might
nitrous
have, but
on
not the
our
rest of us.
Adam got that
Ours was
turbo.
OEM. Didn't you read the cover?
Yeah, it said OEM on it. It was
Oh,
stock.
dude.
Did you notice the first post with that truck home? Bam, brand new turbo. Slam. They'll just
Well, yeah,
bolt
the
the
other
old
one,
back
those ceramic bearings are only good for so long.
Yeah, we didn't wear them out up there.
We had to
It was
take
only
them
6
out.
passes. How much longer were they on there?
We're hard on stuff.
Oh man.
Our last comment is from YouTube, and I'm going to try to do my best with this person's screen name. Nissandet1 writes in, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that name, but, you know, they say it's hard to believe some of these people actually build cars.
Well, if you don't know what you're talking about, then it might be. I guess.
Yeah, in 10 days. We built them in 10 days, guys.
Yeah.
In California.
In a
with
place we've
quarter-inch
never
ratchet.
been.
Thing
Like,
is-
here you go. Let's take a group of guys, put them in the middle of nowhere they've never been in life, and build a race car.
See, when Dimitri suggested this segment, I loved it just for the simple fact that people love to run their fingers, and they got a lot of bark until the person they're speaking with or talking to is close enough that you can smell their breath. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe I'm gonna back this one down a bit. Especially, you know, I don't think anybody would dare speak to Jim or Marcus in the way that they like to speak to them about online, because the TV definitely doesn't do those guys justice. That they are, you guys are, you ain't petite. You're definitely some big boys.
Well, you don't gotta be very close to smell Jim or Marcus's breath, though.
Well, guys, it's been great having you on the show. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these cars out doing street car things and no prep things in the future. I think it's going to be great, and I am all for there being a reunion show or a reunion of the cars in an undisclosed location at some point with some filming going on for sure. I'd love to see that, guys.
But
Well,
I
just
personally
like-
think we keep it no prep. Keep it interesting.
Well,
yeah,
dude,
we
it has
don't-
to
You
be.
all
we
said
don't
it
race
was so
prep.
easy for us. Why
Yeah.
not we just keep the same surface? Well, not that surface. I'm sure a lot of us don't feel
Worse.
like driving
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to Verona.
Yeah,
I'm
we
sure
got
we can
that.
find somewhere a little easier for all of us.
Marcus was right. We have a YouTube channel now for our truck, so just look for a video of me beating Marcus again pretty soon.
Oh, boy.
Told you, just pick a date and a deposit.
Yeah.
Also, Cross Fox is sitting here with the radio still playing. it.
Every squirrel get lucky, you know what I mean? Every squirrel get a lucky. Wow.
Dimitri, we're going to have to shut this
Every
down because
squirrel get a
boys ain't going to stop, all right? We are going to have to shut it down, but guys,
All I wanted to run Jim. That's it. I want to fuck Jim up with that KP tune, and that's it.
He
Jim,
just did a one by run. He would have had it.
Easy part, I'm just talking about it.
Like Adam said, Jim always go, but like, if my car wouldn't have broke, I would have beat you.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to the North versus South race January 16th. Can you guys make that?
I'm gonna go wherever you at. I'm following your ass.
You said that's in Mississippi?
Mississippi.
Yeah, what are you guys doing this weekend?
Go for Mississippi.
It's a long shot, but this
Getting
weekend.
ready for Hoonigan.
Well, if you guys know Philadelphia, you know that New Year's Day is like the biggest no prep race around here for all of us.
20,000
Wow.
away.
No prep.
No. Like we
This
like
is a brand new
backyard.
airport.
Yeah, this is just
Never
an
been
airport
raced
that we
on.
found last week. It's 20,000 to win, 250 a car. All you gotta do is come on 28s. It's the only rule. 28, 10, 5, non-W. Jim, that
Whoa.
includes your little Elko in there too.
We're heading back to
Got another car
California.
sits on 28, so I ain't got to bring the Elko.
Oh
Yeah, we ain't
boy.
got a wheel drop for the Elko.
Is that the one that does donuts on the street?
Donuts.
Sorry, no, man, my bad.
Oh boy. On that note, we're
I
done,
love you
guys.
man.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, guys.
All right, guys.
We will
Catch you
see you in
guys
the
later.
future.
Later.
See you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone.
Y'all have a good one.
Yep.